shit crank.
What it do, black people? It's your girl, Jeray, your hostess with the mostest, and we are back with the Melanin 360 podcast. So I hope you all have had a good week, and more importantly, I hope you all are staying safe out there because y'all know COVID is still running around like, nobody's business. And I hope y'all are registered to vote. I cannot stress to you all how important it is for you all to be registered because you know that as black and brown people, we cannot take another 4 years of this bigot in office. I mean, there's just no other way for me to say it. Too many of us have paid the price, and I don't know about you, but I'm done. So I'm asking you all to visit www.vote.org to look up the voter registration deadlines in your state because they are quickly approaching. And then check out our forever First Lady, Michelle Obama, at whenweallvote.org for more info about your voting rights and ways to volunteer at the polls. So, without further ado, as you can see, I have my lovely guest here, Necole Martinez. Hi, Necole.
Hi, Jeray.
How are you today?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate this.
Yes, this is great. So I have Necole here. Necole is CEO and lead therapist of House of Steel Incorporated and also the Vision 8 Network. And so, Necole, again, before we get all up in your business, as in tradition here on the Melanin 360 podcast, we love our 90s hip hop and R&B. Mm-hmm. And so I will share mine, and then I'm going to give our listeners and our viewers a chance to get to know you and have you share yours and why.
Okay.
Sounds
good.
So mine this week, I don't know about you guys, but on Sunday night, I watched Power Book 2. Mm-hmm. And I liked it. It was good. It's not as good as the original, but it's because it's different characters, but I still liked it. But what I found that was super nostalgic for me was seeing Mary J. Blige and Method Man together in the same show. Like, I was like, oh my God. Mary looked great, and Method Man, I don't even really need to say nothing else about that. But anyway, so of course you know what my song for this week is going to be. It's going to be You're All I Need with Mary J. Blige and Method Man.
Okay, I can see that.
One of my favorite songs. I want to say I was a freshman or a sophomore in high school when this song came out. And, I had a little boyfriend at the time, and in my brain, me and him, we was going to be like them in the video. All we needed to get by. I don't even remember that little boy's name.
Isn't that how it always happens?
It always is, but you couldn't tell me nothing back then. We was going to be together forever.
Absolutely. I think we all have had that.
I can see his face. I can see his face right here, but I'm like, I don't know. So if you listening, whoever you are, this song was dedicated to you back in the day, but I'm so sorry, whatever. But anyway, do you have a song for this week?
Actually, I do. So I have been, and I guess back then was a very big Mariah Carey fan.
Okay.
And so Vision of Love came.
Ooh, yes.
And when that song came out, it resonated to me so much. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. So I am that person that, either the hopeless romantic person, or the person who has vision,
Okay.
I've always been told that I am like an eagle, and I have the gift of vision.
Okay.
And then also I'm also that person who I want to, I dream big. I see things, and I guess I'm the daydreamer, so my mom used to call me the daydreamer at times. Okay. So when Vision of Love came out, like that right there did it for me.
Yeah.
And I thought about it, like when preparing for this, I was like, that's the song that actually took me throughout that whole and it also talked a lot about kind of feelings, like emotions, thinking. It was like it was thinking the past, it was bringing everything to the present, and it was looking forward to the future.
Okay.
And I love that.
I do remember when that song came out. I remember thinking, who is this girl with this amazing voice?
Oh my gosh, yes.
That was such a great album, though.
Yeah,
it really was.
It really was. I loved her then, but I really started liking her when she started going into her own, like coming into her own. Like I really she got to a point where she was like, no, this is what you want me to do. This is what I want to do.
Yes.
And when she started doing that, yeah.
But Mariah Carey was definitely one of the queens of the 90s, like period. Even beyond Vision of Love, like all her other stuff, love her.
Yeah, butterfly.
Yes.
That's why I have a butterfly tattoo.
Yeah. Good choice. See how different we are. She's all, daydreaming, and I'm like thug love.
I mean, I wasn't really into rap. I never really been into. I kind of am that community person who if everyone's listening to it, I'll listen to it. But don't get me to quote a song. And I'm also the one that doesn't know the words to it.
One day I'm gonna rap for y'all. I promise. It's not gonna be today, but one day I'm gonna rap for y'all.
But I will say I like Mary too. She was good.
Oh yeah, Mary J. Blige is just everything. Okay, all right. So, in this week's episode, you guys, we're titling this episode "Your Mental Health Can't Live on Prayer Alone." All right, and today we're going to focus on the ever-changing relationship between Black people and mental health. If you've listened to my other podcasts, or if you know me personally, you know that I am a huge fan of therapy. And Necole, you know that.
Absolutely.
For those of you that don't know, I've known Necole for probably longer than I've not known her.
That's about true.
It's been quite a while. So she definitely knows this about me. And one thing that I always tell people is therapy is the best gift that you can give yourself.
Absolutely.
I really believe that. If so many people running around here with great health insurance and you're not taking advantage of it, spend that $10, $20, $30, $40.
Or sometimes it's free.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And my old job was $5. I had a $5 copay. But anyway, the old days. But I tell myself, it was the best thing I could have ever done for me. So, first of all, before we get into the actual topic, can you tell us about House of Still? What is it, and its origins and all that good stuff?
So, House of Still is my counsel, is my agency, right?
Okay.
And so one of the components of House of Still is the mental health part of it. I have a private practice, and it started off as just a small private practice, and so let me back up. Actually, I'll break down the name.
Okay.
Because the name was given to me by God, and it was given to me in a very tough time in my life. And I remember just kind of feeling very lost in the wilderness, kind of saying, why God? Why me? Why me? Why me? Kind of common questions that people ask.
Yeah.
And one day he said to me, why not you? Why not you, Necole? What makes you so much better than me? If I can die on the cross to be able to save people, why can't you be able to suffer to save other people as well? And that caught my attention, because I never once thought about the fact that everything that I was going through was part of his big master plan.
Yes.
Once he caught my attention, he told me that the house, your body is the house. And when you stay still, that's when I can work with you.
Wow.
And so House of Still was born out of that. House is the body, and still is when you're still is when we can help you to heal.
Okay. I like that. I really like how that sounds. And just the word still just sounds so calming and peaceful and grounded.
We try to make sure our environment in the office is very calming, peaceful. We don't have bright lights on. We make sure that it's a very calming environment. We even call our rooms the healing suites. Right? Okay. They're not, the room it's the healing suites. My mission, my journey, my passion is the healing process. It's all about the healing, helping people along that journey of healing. And so House of Still is just that. Now, I didn't necessarily name it mental health services. I actually named it Wellness Center, the Wellness Center. The reason why is because, one, we expect to grow to other things. But then two, I wanted to take the stigma out of mental health.
Okay.
The thing is that if that word is going to stop you from healing, then let's take it out. Let's take that out.
Right. Because it's about the end goal,
Correct.
not, semantics. That's
Correct.
less important.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And so what services do you all offer there?
So for right now, I do individual, family, and group.
Okay.
And so we're working on, the group is not as much, but we do a lot of family. I do a lot of couples. And then we
Okay.
do individuals as well.
Okay.
And we actually have people from all walks of life. I take all insurances, and we do self-pay. I have different races, and I actually have male and females as well.
Okay. And so when you say group, is that family groups or what does that entail?
Good question. So ideally, we would like to do actually groups where maybe, for instance, you have like depression, or single parenthood, trying to overcome that or navigate.
Okay, so
through
more
that.
like support groups.
Support groups.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. So kind of going a little bit deeper, I know in the opening we talked about the stigmas in our community when it comes to therapy and mental health.
Absolutely.
And, one of the things that I keep hearing a lot from especially our older generation is, oh, pray about it. You just need to go to church. You just need Jesus. And while I am never negating that because I pray every night.
Absolutely.
But it wasn't, I don't want to say it wasn't enough, but I needed therapy to help me work through some things. Have you seen that stigma in your work?
Absolutely.
Have you heard that?
Absolutely. And as I share with people, first of all, who created therapy?
There you go.
Jesus.
There you go.
So we pray about it and he gives us the answer. Once he gives you the answer, it's up to you to actually do the work. And the work is the healing process. So that means you go to a professional and you do the work. Because I'm a believer as well. I pray about I pray about everything, right? But the thing is that once he gives us that answer, what are you going to do with that answer? And so that's the first thing I share with people. Yeah. One of the other stigmas is just, that people are going to think I'm crazy, or people are I'm not going to be able to get a good job, or I'm not going to be able to be promoted. I work with a lot of military people. When it comes to even when it comes to the church, they are like, well, we have our support groups, we have our ministries, but you don't have a licensed professional who knows how to cross the line, but not push the person over the edge. Dig deep, dig inside of that person's soul to be able to really help mend whatever it is that's going on, but not get to put them in a position where you're re-traumatizing them again.
Okay. One of the kind of the catalysts that caused me to go to therapy some years ago, and I've been going on and off for about a decade, so it's not like every 2 weeks for the last 10 years, but just, kind of when things change or when things happen,
Right.
I realized that I was talking to my girlfriends a lot, which you should because they are your girlfriends. But I realized that a lot of times I was monopolizing some of our conversations
Makes sense.
with my stuff. And, these heifers was in the same boat as I was. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
And it was like we're all in the boat with the hole in it, and none of us
And
know
no
how
one
to
knows
swim.
how to write.
And it was like, yo, I love y'all, but I'm not helping you, and you're not helping me, and I've got to go talk to somebody to figure this out.
So hurt brings hurt. So how does hurt help hurt?
It not at all.
It can't.
It doesn't.
And so that's one thing,
well intended, but no.
Absolutely. But one thing that we tell people is that we are neutral parties. I have no stake in the game. I have no emotion in the game. I am a neutral party. So therefore, I can see what you can't. You can see a lot clearer without an emotional eye. And so a lot of times we act off of emotion. We feel off of, everything that we do is off of emotion, right? But if I'm emotionless, and it really, I'm just here to hear facts for facts, and help you solve that.
Mm-hmm.
That's my role. My role is not to get emotionally involved with you. My role is not to be like, yeah, girl, you're right. You was wrong, or no, girl, you was wrong for that. That's not my role.
Right.
My role is to say facts for facts. And how do we help that?
Mm-hmm.
And so, as much as we love talking to our girlfriends, and we all do. I mean, I'm a therapist and I still do.
Right. I mean, you're still human.
Right.
You're still a person.
I always tell people I check the human box first before I ever check anything else, But ultimately, what it really is that it's that neutral party. It's that person who can see things. It's that person, because sometimes our girlfriends don't want to, be like, hey, you know what? Could you've said that a different way? Could you have done that a different way?
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to challenge us like that, or if they do, we don't know what may happen,
Mm-hmm.
So that therapist is that neutral party. I'm going to cross the line. I'm going to let you know I'm crossing the line. I'm drawing a line in the sand. I'm going to cross it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm doing this I'm holding your hand so that I can help you to open up your eyes, to grow, to heal, to whatever it needs to be done in order to mend that wound.
Yeah, I think that's so important to just, for people to know that about therapy.
Mm-hmm.
For those of us that do go, I don't think that we talk about it enough.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about it all the time, but it's not enough of me telling people that it's not scary. It's not weird. It's, no one looks at you funny,
right,
type of thing. And I think that if we discussed it more amongst our peers, other people might say, oh, well, Jeray went and she seems to be okay.
But it's the colorful words that people use when it comes to therapy,
mm-hmm.
right? Like I said, oh, she's crazy. She crazy as a bed bug.
Yeah,
that doesn't make a person feel good. You know what I mean? So
mm-hmm.
when you hear that, I don't want to be in that category. I don't want to. So I'm not gonna share that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's different levels of therapy too. So or different types of therapy. Right now, I deal with the average everyday person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not with severely mentally ill. Okay,
right.
So I don't deal with schizophrenia, split personality. That's not my area of expertise.
Mm-hmm.
So there are, and the thing is that movies and TV, what they show
mm-hmm.
is the extreme. And so we get our education from movies and TVs.
Right.
And so we're getting our education from the extreme.
Mm-hmm.
When 90% of just counseling, basic mental health, is everyday people who go to work, who pay their bills, who go to basketball games, football games,
yes,
who have wine with their girlfriends, just
mm-hmm.
everyday people.
Yeah, it's amazing to me, for, like you said, most of us go to therapy for, maybe some minor things in our childhood
mm-hmm.
or bad relationships or, just the normal things. But there are people walking around who have dealt with domestic violence in their relationships, rape and incest and
mm-hmm.
all of these atrocious childhood traumas and victims of violence, and they're carrying these things. Mm-hmm. And have not gone to therapy. I do not know how people are functioning. I just, my heart goes out to them.
They're ticking time bombs, unfortunately,
wow.
at times. The thing is that at some point, like the old folks say, you live long enough, you're going to experience things, mm-hmm. right? It shows in different aspects of their life,
mm-hmm.
And my whole goal, the one reason why I wanted to take mental health out of it is because my goal is to help to change that stigma,
mm-hmm.
to help people to say, you know what, I've had a failed relationship after failed relationship after failed relationship. I'm the common denominator. What can I do to change that?
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm a bad person. What did I experience where it made me attract this?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what people aren't willing to. I always share with people, you have to be willing to have that hard conversation.
Yes.
And anything that you do in life. If you want change, we don't make changes in our comfort zone. Change
mm-hmm.
occurs outside of your comfort zone. You have to be uncomfortable in order for something to change. Like if I put on some pants right now and they're comfortable, I'm gonna keep eating.
Yep. You're eating pants. Yes, I know all about that.
The minute that I'm like, I am uncomfortable, I need to do something about this. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna stop eating. I'm gonna figure out. Okay, so maybe I did have one donut too many.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe what can I do to change this feeling of uncomfortableness?
Yeah, I had one of my girlfriends that started going to therapy because of me. She was asking me, well, how is it? And I said, the first session or two, you're going to do a lot of dumping. You're going to talk a lot about who you are, where you came from, what you've been through. I said, somewhere around session 3 or 4 is when the mirror gets turned to you. And you're not going to like it. But I remember driving home and I was going, damn, Jeray, yeah, like you said, the common denominator thing, and it's not to say that in those failed relationships that those guys weren't wrong. Because
absolutely.
They had their issues, but I was still a part of all of those.
The thing is that we have to understand the energy that we are putting.
I had to own
energy.
I had to own either the things that I did or the things that I didn't do. Correct. Or like you said, the energy that I was putting out, even if my only fault was you should have left.
Absolutely.
3 months before you did.
Right.
That's still on me.
Right.
So, I think that's very important to just say, but switching gears a little bit, since we're now, under the whole COVID-19 coronavirus thing, have you seen an uptick in patients, or have you seen your current patients being triggered in a different way because of it, with the quarantine and, kind of being trapped in the house and homeschooling their kids now or not working? What kinds of things are you seeing, if any?
No, I am. I'm definitely seeing. So when we first had the lockdown, let's say in April, there was a couple of my clients who I would consider to be stable because we were doing mainly check-ins every 2 weeks. Anxiety really increased.
Yeah.
Just the fact that not knowing, what's going to happen, or not feeling as if they didn't have all the correct information, or what will tomorrow bring, things like that. So I will say the month of April was probably a pretty tough month for me. Me personally, I had my own kid that I had to try to get online and do school and, just try to get some type of normalcy with him.
Right.
And then I'm supposed to step up to the plate and help other people to find some normalcy.
And you were doing this virtually too.
And so then we were doing it virtually.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and the thing is that I always tell people I grew up in this field in the 90s. So we were like, face to face. And so this whole telehealth thing is very new for me.
I don't like it. I've done 2 sessions.
A lot of people don't.
With my therapist, in the last maybe 6 months that we've been. It was cool. I didn't like it.
You don't feel connected?
Yeah, I don't feel connected.
Yeah.
I
hear that a lot.
Yeah. But you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
But
I hear that. I will say I did lose a couple of clients because of the whole telehealth thing. And it's like, oh, well, can you come in? Can you, and I couldn't open up the building just for 2 people.
Yeah.
As much as I want to help. Yeah. It's just something that I could not do. But there was a lot of people that did not like it. And then also just the whole technology thing. Sometimes the internet goes out or too many people, because by May, everyone was online. And so that, especially during a certain period of time, that kind of took, sometimes the service would drop, things like that. But and that would frustrate people. When it comes to like the summertime, when we thought things were opening up back again, and then people realize, oh, it's just not the same.
Yeah.
I started seeing a little bit increase as well. I'm starting to see a little bit more depression now, because it's almost like 2020 took away my summer. That's what I hear. 2020 took away my summer. 2020 has, robbed me of all the plans that I had.
Yes.
There's a lot of blaming on 2020. Now, some people can see the positive side and say, hey, I've been able to eat dinner with my family. I've been able to kind of spend more time with my kids, or I've been able to spend time with some people, with their spouse, and some people didn't like that. But there's right now, I think the wave is coming back. So it was kind of really high in April, May. It started dying off around June, July. People might have found different things to do, like maybe going to a local beach.
Right, or the park and some stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And then school started between August and September, and now it's like, you know what? We have 4 months left of this year, and what have I done? And so now that's what I'm hearing. It's like, what have I done? And so the reality that this probably won't end until about June, if not later, it's starting to kick in, and people are like, I don't like this. So they're really, and not even being able to see loved ones. You know, when I really think about it,
Yes.
not being able to see their parents, older parents who may have a compromised immune systems. I hear that a lot. I also, from some of the older generation, I know that I'm hearing that they're feeling a lot lonely, very lonely.
Yeah.
And they're not able to be with the grandkids.
That's one thing that's been bothering me. My dad, we see my dad, but not like we normally do. And then when I do, we don't really touch, so we're like elbowing it or whatever. And it makes me and my brother a little sad. It's like, I want to hug my dad,
My sister and I, we were talking about that just last night. Cause my dad is, he's very sick.
Okay.
And so, because he does chemo and, dialysis, we definitely try to make sure that we're not 100% around him. But this has been hard, because he's doing it so that he can stay around for us.
Right. Yeah.
And so if we're not around, then what? So we were laughing the other night because I was like, your father just called me just so I can listen to his television.
Yeah, I mean, you have to make it work.
He just wanted that connection. And so, I mean, it's definitely hard for people. It's definitely hard.
And I know this time of year, what's the name of it when people have like the seasonal depression. And, I was saying the other night, it was dark at like 7:30 last night. So I know people going into October, November, it gets darker. So that's already a thing.
Yes.
And then you add the quarantine on top of that, so yeah.
I mean, on the flip side, if I look at it from a business perspective, I haven't missed a beat.
Facts. Facts.
I mean, but ultimately, you're absolutely correct. We always start going into what we call our busy season, somewhere like after Labor Day. It gets pretty busy. People are calling. They want later appointments because, of course, they're either working during the day or that's when they're starting to feel the loneliest. It's in the evening. And so you get really busy. But yes, seasonal depression and seasonal affect is really big.
So kind of staying in that same vein, I wanted to ask you, in the current state that Black and brown people are in right now, with everything from, the social justice issues to the murders of Black people, it's gone from, reading about them to actually seeing them live on television, on Instagram, on Facebook, whatever you want to call it. I know even for me, it has been emotionally draining.
Yes.
Have you seen any triggers with people dealing with that?
Absolutely. Just amongst us Black therapists, honestly, there's a couple of groups out there that we kind of vented ourselves on because ultimately, I mean, we've been saying this for years.
Yeah.
We've been talking about, the one thing about our community is that we did not have the luxury to feel for a long time. We didn't have the luxury to be angry and to show emotion and show pain. Right. So here it is now in 2020, and we have so many more advances, and we're still experiencing the same things in an environment where we now have that luxury to do that. But we weren't properly taught how to do that.
Right.
And so that's why we're seeing what we're seeing. We're seeing the frustration. We're seeing everything. I did a talk for a group of young women back in June, and they're from the DC area and Montgomery County. And so they were angry. They were angry, and they were like, people act like this is something that just happened. And I think that's what they were more angry about. Like, this is the eye opener. No, this has been happening. You know, I think the thing is that now we're recording. And so now it's in our psyche and people are playing it over and over in their psyche, which is what we call chronic trauma. You know?
Okay.
And so now they're experiencing this thing over and over and over and over again. And so we have a group of people, a group of kids who are experiencing that, who are being raised by a group of parents who never had the luxury to be able to show emotion. So what does everyone do? They just do what they feel, and that's anger. You know, and so yes, we're seeing a lot of people who are angry, a lot of young kids. Now, some of them are taking that anger and turning into something positive. And John Lewis said something great, you know, when he was like, get into good trouble.
Yes.
And this is the generation that's going to take us to the next level. And, you know, I that resonated with me when he spoke about that, because he's right. Although our generation may not have had, and our parents' generation may not have had really the luxury to be able to feel, this generation does. But what this generation also does is that they're able to now do something about it.
Yes.
And make that change that their ancestors that tried to do, you know, and may have been successful in some areas and may not have been successful in other areas.
You know, it made me very worried, you know, when I saw the video of George Floyd. Now, I'm talking about somebody, you know, I'm nowhere near perfect, but I am a person who, one, has done therapy. So I have what I like to call my toolbox, right?
I love that.
Of how to, you know, I can go in there and figure out what tools to pull out to deal with different emotions. And I've worked in the social justice field for over a decade. Yes. So unfortunately, this has kind of fallen in my line of stuff that I've dealt with. And even for me, the amount of emotion and anguish and pissed offness and energy that I didn't know what to do with after that scared me.
Yes.
And so then when I thought about it, it made me fearful for people that don't have a toolbox, that haven't, you know, dealt with these things in that way, so upfront like that. You know, what do you say to that, not even a young person, to that Black person out there that is kind of fighting this internal battle and doesn't know what to do with that energy? You know, how can you or someone like you help them?
We have to face things for what they are, you know. I'll kind of back it up a little bit, because I actually said I wasn't going to watch the video. And one night I was up and I did.
And you wish that you had.
And I wish I had.
Yeah.
And I watched it to the very end. And I literally said to myself, we just watched a man die. And that played in my psyche for so long. And I realized that because of that, I had to turn everything off. And the first thing that I would say to people is that we have to realize what we're putting into our psyche. What are we rehearsing over and over? And if we're rehearsing something that is creating an emotion that will become uncontrollable for us, we're going to have to figure out how to cut that off. I work with the military. I have a grant with the military.
Okay.
And so they decided that after this, they wanted to have a diversity team.
Didn't every organization want to have a diversity thing after this?
So what I told them was this. Of course, I was asked to be a part of it. But what I told them was this: I have no problem. I mean, I'm all for it. I'm all for diversity. I want to help to make a change, and I want to help the military, who is taught, you know, to their training, you know, is basically is very aggressive. I would like to help them to be able to learn how to compartmentalize their emotions as well, especially our Black military soldiers. But I'm not willing to be a part of it if we're not willing to have a hard conversation. And when I say hard conversation, I mean the one that makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I mean the one that actually makes you squirm, the one that makes you say, I thought that, no, we're going to, as you stated, like throw up or dump. You know, we always call it throw up. I need you to throw up everything. I need to throw up everything. Every assumption, every everything that I might have said, a word that you've heard in your group, anything. We're going to have to throw up everything in order to help to understand what our biases are, what our prejudices are, and in order to help other people.
Right, because it can't be lip service. Because if it is, then what's the point?
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's. I think that aspect is still in limbo. Our society is interesting. This happened at a time of quarantine, at a time for us to stand still. So, and I truly believe that it was designed on purpose to happen this way, because this is what's going to start that change that is needed. Because had we not been sitting still, we wouldn't have paid attention.
Absolutely
Had
not.
I not had anything to do that night, which I did, but had I chose to not click onto that video, you know, I would have been like, I would have just listened to it on the news like everyone else. I think that our counterparts, our white counterparts, they decided to click onto, because at this point in time, I'm curious, I have the time, let me see what's happening.
Yeah.
And they became outraged. And it's like, for the first time, I feel like people started really saying, oh, wow.
Yeah, this is really actually a problem.
Correct.
So with that being said, I know for me, when I wanted to get a therapist, I specifically wanted a Black female therapist. I felt like it'd be easier for me to talk to her and that she may understand my issues better. Do you see a benefit in that? Does it matter? Does it not? You know?
Good question. I actually would say yes. So as therapists, we are encouraged to see our own therapists, and even in our programs, one of the assignments is that we have to go to therapy ourselves.
Okay.
So I personally have done it as well.
That makes me feel good.
I know exactly what it feels like to be on the other side. But also, even when I was going through just personal stuff in my own life, I made the conscious decision to go to one. And I made a conscious decision to go seek out someone who looked like me, so that when I told my story, so that when I shared, I didn't have to explain every little thing and take have to explain what I meant by certain things or be misunderstood. Now, that doesn't mean that other people can't understand our culture. Because I clearly have people who I definitely have Hispanics, I have whites, I have Blacks, and I feel like I can understand. But I feel like when you have certain, I want to say issues, okay, or certain concerns that you want addressed, and especially if it's a culture concern, I really think that you should find someone within the same culture. And especially even in the same gender. When it comes to like universal stuff, that may be a little bit different. Like maybe, I probably take that back actually. When it comes to minorities, I think we should seek out more minority people.
And that wasn't, because someone told me, I just kind of felt that in me. And I was like, I feel like I want somebody that looks like me, I also think that maybe one of the stigmas around therapy is that maybe a lot of us don't know that it's a lot of Black therapists out there. I know that our community historically has had a contentious relationship with the medical field,
right.
And we are distrusting, and not really just Black people, communities of color, period.
Well, they've used us as guinea pigs. Let's be real.
Yeah,
I mean, the medical field, I'm not going to sit here and say that this medical field has been like so great and so wonderful to my community. You know? They've used us as guinea pigs. They have taken Black women and say, oh, they don't feel pain. Let me do research on them. And so they have dehumanized us in a sense. And so sometimes going to someone, or the first thing we think, I can't think of hand right now, but there's a test out there where you ask a young child to draw a scientist, and they're going to draw a white male because what has been placed in their psyche is a white male.
Bill
is a
Nye, the
scientist.
science guy. That's who they all know.
Correct. And so
Yeah.
when we think of therapy, we think of white people.
Yeah,
We think of white families. We think of a white therapist.
you're right.
It's within that community. And so, is there more of us out there? Yes, there is. And we definitely, there is a community out there. We are on Psychology Today. We're on Black Therapist Rock. There's a big community out there now and we all talk about how do we keep breaking into our community? How do we get our community to trust us again so that we can heal?
Okay. And that was actually my next question. Where can we go to find you all? You know, I got mine from a referral from someone, but you know, for those of us, especially those of us that have gone through like EAP.
Yes.
I've never used EAP, but when I was at work one day kind of perusing it,
Yeah.
it wasn't a lot of people that looked like me on there. So if I am a Black person that wants to go to therapy and I'm doing it through my job and I'm scrolling through and I see white, after like page 2, I'm going to stop.
Well, I will say this because when it comes to EAP, it's a 2-part thing. All right. Because EAP doesn't pay a whole lot. So, you know, sometimes people aren't willing to subscribe to be a part of their panel. And so that's the first part of it, unfortunately. It becomes a business decision as well. I mean, I have a lot of colleagues who will say, I'm not taking Medicaid. You know, Medicaid gives you a hard time. They're trying to audit you all the time, and they just don't want to deal with that. So sometimes it's the bureaucracy of the insurance company as well.
Which the downside is a lot of people that look like us are using those programs.
Correct, and that's right, and that's exactly right. So the thing is that now I do subscribe to EAP. I do subscribe to Medicaid. I purposely do that because I don't want for us to turn away therapy because of that. Now, I myself personally will have a cap and say I'll only take a certain percentage of this and a certain percentage of that.
That's understandable.
And as I know in some of the groups there, people are kind of sharing, hey, why don't you take 2% or 5%, like have 5% as Medicaid, just so we can make sure we can help a lot of our people who are on those insurances. So yes, you're absolutely correct. There is not a lot, but it's the bureaucracy of the insurance companies that turn a lot of us professionals away. I mean, if I can get out of pocket, know, the same twice, if not 3 times the amount out of pocket versus this EAP who's going to ask me for a whole lot of paperwork, and then they're going to take almost 3 months to pay me. Unfortunately, that's what happens.
I mean, as an entrepreneur, I 110% get it. I do. Hopefully after the show, if you could give me some of those websites,
Absolutely.
I'd like to link them below so people can find out how to find you and other people.
I will say the biggest one, especially, is Psychology Today. And Psychology Today, they require us to put pictures on there. So we can't just put our name and that's it. We have to put a picture on there. So, I mean, there's plenty of people who, when I would, our spill, hey, how'd you hear about us? Oh, I went to Psychology Today. Okay, what made you come here? And they'll say, oh, your face looked friendly. Oh, okay. Like that's interesting. It's a picture, but for them, they identified there was something about that identified with that. So yeah, a lot of and there's again the Black Therapist Rock group. So and there's a Black girls. But I definitely will get you that information.
Okay. Yeah, I want to make sure people that are listening can find that and share it. So I have a question that I want to know, and I've always wondered this. So, people like to use the words therapist, psychologist, counselor, psychiatrist, whatever, interchangeably.
Yes.
So for my personal benefit, I want to know what the difference is, and I want our listeners to know what the difference is so we can be intelligent when we speak about, therapy or counseling or what have you. So what are the differences between all of those?
Education.
Okay.
So I'll start with a psychiatrist.
Okay.
A psychiatrist is actually a medical doctor.
Okay.
And so they can prescribe medication.
Okay.
All right. A psychologist is a PhD PsyD doctor, so they cannot prescribe medication. A lot of times they're going to do teaching, or they'll do research.
Okay.
Now, will some of them do therapy as well? Yes, they'll do therapy. But most people, if you're going to go into the PhD PsyD doctoral program, it's because you're going to do a research. You're going to do research, or you're going to do some type of testing. You're not doing one-on-one counseling.
Okay.
Okay. Therapists and counselors are kind of interchangeable. That name depending on which state you're in, really.
Okay.
Because what we are master level, and we're licensed therapists, and so there is a different license for each level, and so counselors and therapists are licensed on the master's level, and so that's when you'll see the LCPC or the what's the social worker, LCSW. Or
licensed social worker or something. Okay.
LIC. That's when you start seeing the names, the licensors behind their name. A lot of times they're master level, and they're just doing counseling, one-on-one therapy. They're not doing research. They're not doing teaching. They're not giving out medication. They're just doing one-on-one. So, for instance, for myself, I'm just a master's level licensed therapist, and so I just do one-on-one. Now, next year, when I finish and I graduate,
yes,
I will have a PhD in psychology, and so
congratulations.
Thank you. And so, of course, you do a dissertation, which is research, and so you're prepared for the research track. Okay. And so I'll be able to teach and do research, and if I choose to, continue to do therapy.
Okay. So. All right. I've always wondered what the difference was. I knew that psychiatrist was
the medical.
Yeah. I knew that much, and they were the only ones that could prescribe medicine.
And they don't do therapy, just one.
They don't at all. No. Okay. So can your therapist send you to a psychiatrist? Or when would you see a psychiatrist versus a therapist or counselor?
Okay. That's a good question, because a lot of times people, they will interchange that. So we have this thing, what we call baseline. All right. And so I need to see what people's baselines are. If you're below baseline and I can't figure out how to naturally get you back up to baseline, such as depression levels, serotonin levels, then that means that we may need some medication.
Okay.
Right? And we need some medication to either help you to get to baseline or maintain baseline. Not everyone is willing to do naturally what is needed to get their serotonin levels up. Not everyone can do naturally, because that's how far below baseline they've gotten.
Right. So now, is that where you get into like your schizophrenias and your
that's a little
your
different.
Mental health issues and stuff? Okay.
Yeah. So that's a little different. So when it comes to schizophrenia and some bipolar, ADHD, of course, yes, that deals with medication as well. But a lot of times that helps them to get to baseline and maintain baseline. It's like having diabetes. I can maintain. I have diabetes, so I'm going to have to take medication in order to help manage my diabetes. Okay. And so as long as I take that medication and I eat right and I exercise, then I'm managing my diabetes.
Okay.
So schizophrenia, bipolar. I mean, there's some people who may not have had a manic episode in years because they've been on their medication. The minute they get off of it and you start seeing a decline, like, so what happened? 9 times out of 10 is because they stopped the medication.
Okay. So now I know the differences. Okay. All right. So is there any tips that you have for anyone who is, been on Psychologist Today 50 times and just never clicked the button to book an appointment or what have you? They've been to your website 20 times and they're like, I don't know. Any advice or words of comfort or anything that you can give them to kind of,
One of the things I always share with my clients is that my job is to help you to be able to live the best life you choose to live, whatever that looks like for you, And so if you're okay and you're satisfied with your life, great, no problem. but you're not on Psychology of the Day. You're not seeking out things because you're happy and you're satisfied.
Right.
And if you're doing that, then that means that it's time to take the next step. It's kind of time to go and to find someone who is neutral, who will keep confidentiality. One of the things that I'm a big believer in confidentiality. My entire staff is on an NDA. All right. I don't care if they're just taking the money. I don't care if they're just checking you in. I mean, and I'm serious. I'm very serious about that. I tell people all the time.
That's awesome.
I mean, first of all, the DMV is not that big. Okay. And, I
6 degrees of separation,
absolutely,
child.
absolutely. I can be in a grocery store and I walk right past somebody. I mean, I was at the car show and I saw a couple of people there. I mean, there's people who own businesses and stuff that I've dealt with. So the thing is that they have to, in order to feel safe, they have to feel like, okay, if I walk up in here, nobody's going to tell my business.
That's so important.
No one. And so, hey, ask that question. Is your staff on an NDA?
Is that standard practice? Do you know?
It's not necessarily standard. It's a practice that I chose.
Okay.
So, like my controller, my admin, they had to sign. You either sign an NDA or you just don't come. You know?
Okay.
I mean, thank God one of them was my sister, so she's gonna have to. She didn't care, but ultimately, yeah, no. That's when it comes to us as therapists, we take an oath. Okay. And you can actually go to the board on me if I actually share information and you feel like I broke confidentiality. So I'm not willing to lose my license just to tell your business.
Absolutely.
So that's the so you can ask, hey, do you practice that? You can do a consultation as well. Most therapists will do 15, 20-minute consultation over the phone and just see if you're having a good vibe, even over the phone. I mean, usually we can tell if this person is going to, like, you know what, I'll give them a chance. I'll give them opportunity. You know? So you can ask for that. A lot of us will do that, a 15, 20 minutes. Now, if it goes longer, then, of course, you know, we're going to like schedule an appointment. But 15, 20 minutes is not a problem. So you can do that. Referrals are great. I always tell people referrals are great. I mean, we get referrals for everything else. You know, you get referrals for the doctor's office. You get referrals for your hairstylist. You get referrals for your, nail technician. Why not get a referral for a therapist?
That's the best. That's the best.
So, yeah. And then also just one of the things where if you are scrolling, see what they've done, see what their mission is, or see what their passions are, because you have to line. I always tell people my method, my way may not be right for you. And I'm okay with that. My goal is to get you to the healing process. So if I'm not that person, if I'm not that therapist, it's not a problem. Let me help you find the one that will fit you better.
Okay.
But I'm passionate. I'm very, very passionate. And I truly, truly love that process. So if you are, if I'm the right fit, hey, let's do it. If not, let me help you find someone.
All right. Well, before you go, can you let us know what is next for House of Steel? Anything you want to talk about, announce, or anything?
Well, like I said earlier, I did not name it mental health for a reason. So we named it a wellness center. So you stated earlier about Vision 8. That's our new nonprofit that we have just created and registered, and we're all good to go now. So, and with the Vision 8, now, what's going to happen is that we have a couple of different programs that will help people with job readiness skills, being able to start over. But we're putting a mental health piece to it.
Okay.
And so I think that sometimes that's the piece that's missing. I mean, I can give you all the skills in the world, but if I can't help you to deal with, what has happened, the trauma that you've experienced, you're going to go to that job and you're still going to mess up. So we're designing programs now where we are having different training sessions. And it's going to be kind of like a full, I can't even think anymore, but
like a holistic approach.
Correct.
Okay.
And so we'll do mind, body, and soul. We will treat, we will give you job skills. We will even help with our young girls. We have a program that we want to help with young girls and to kind of bloom into womanhood.
I love that.
Let's say we've experienced some trauma, as a young child. where is the safe space that I can help work this through so that we're not acting out and
Mm-hmm.
seeing you on TV and people are making fun of you
Right.
inappropriately.
Right.
Let's find a safe space where we can deal with that right then and there,
Mm-hmm.
so that you don't feel alone and feel like you're by yourself and you're left to deal with this, or you feel vulnerable and no one's there to help you. So we want to help you to grow into beautiful young women. We want to do a men's program as too.
Okay.
So we definitely
Okay.
want to do a men's program. Ideally, what we want to do is right now we have a little like office, townhouse office, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Our desire is to find land, and to be able to have two houses,
Wonderful.
and to be able to have a full-fledged program, mental health, job readiness skills, physical activities. We talked about having a basketball court in the back, and
Mm-hmm.
so that people, because alternative therapy is great as well.
Yeah.
And mindfulness, people do yoga, but also even shooting hoops is something good.
It's stress reliever.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
wanna be-
Camaraderie, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. So we want to be able to, ideally, we want to be able to kind of have two houses with enough space to be able to cover everything.
That is amazing. Well, please keep Melanin 360
We definitely will.
in mind. I would love to be a part of that in any way, shape, or form, whatever
I
it
would
is you're
love
doing.
for you to. I would love for you to. I think I shared this before, and I keep saying it because it really is my passion. I truly wanted to be able to help heal our community.
Mm-hmm.
I really like in that time that God gave me the vision of House of Steel. He basically kind of shared, what this was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, okay, I'm a crusader for God right now.
Yeah, being obedient.
It's time. It's our time. It is our time. It's the
Mhm.
Black and brown community's time to heal.
Yes.
It really is.
Well, that is awesome. And how can we stalk you on social media?
So we are on IG, and it's House of Steel Inc. Inc. And then you can actually go to our website, which is www.houseofsteel, and it's still.com. So that's how you can follow us.
Okay. Well, you guys, please make sure you check out Necole Martinez and her staff over at House of Steel. If you're looking for quality therapy and all around holistic wellness, please reach out to her. She's going to provide you great service. And Necole, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And, I feel like what we talked about today was just kind of the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
So, you'll be hearing from me again. I'm hoping to have some more nuanced conversations around.
Hey, let's heal our community one conversation at a time.
Absolutely. So, you guys, you can find the Melanin 360 podcast on Instagram at _Melanin360. You can also email us at themelanin360podcast@gmail.com. And you can find the podcast wherever you find your favorite podcasts, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. And we will see you all next week. Peace.
Bye.
Paving this shit crank.